Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of Fear Street Part 3, 1666. 666, we like it. Alright, cast and crew information down below, and the IMDb plot here to start. The origin of Sarah Fier's curse are finally revealed as history comes full circle on a night that changes the lives of the Shadysiders forever and ever and ever. Alright, so the big series on Netflix continues. Three-parter here. Um, Reviewed the first two already, so this is the finale here. I will grade this one and then give a grade to the overall series. Um, and hopefully I will remember to link them all down below as well. May or may not happen, but hopefully I'll remember. Anyway, on to this one, part 3. We're kind of going backwards here. Started 94, then 78, and now going way back in time. Obviously, all with a connection, all kind of leading to finding the history of this witch, and where kind of all of this craziness began, and why Shadyside is Shadyside. If you, well, I don't want to spoil the other two reviews either, so I'll kind of try to not say anything about that. But I will keep this one as spoiler-free as possible, assuming that there are still people out there who might not have seen this. Not sure why you'd watch part 3 review without seeing the first two first, but whatever. Anyway, I'll keep it spoiler-free regardless, as much as possible. So this one's going to go back in time, obviously. You're going to see again the same kind of actors, characters, but obviously versions of themselves or versions of these people way back in time, and basically where all this began. And you can kind of see where they were then and what their roles are, obviously ending in 1994, or where this originally started. At least from the movie standpoint. And obviously the whole thing is Sarah and how this curse has begun. And obviously going to be an old time village, and kind of in that era of, if anything goes wrong, that there's a witch at hand, or it must be witchcraft and that kind of thing, and that's what's happening here. Just like this sorcery of a sound that keeps going off. It's witchcraft, I tell you. But we're going back to the old times where obviously, if something goes wrong, that's who's going to get blamed. And Sarah, unfortunately, kind of gets caught up on it one night. As you know, as this plays along the entire time, the two girls here, Sarah and Hannah, have always had that kind of bond, one way or the other. And in this one, they kind of get caught kissing one night, after some people may have eaten some stuff, or I don't know. They kind of lend you to the fact that maybe they ate some berries or something that might have set some people off, and blah blah blah. But anyway, they have a moment there where they kiss, and apparently somebody has seen this. Rumors start, and then some bad stuff unfolds. And as I guess the bad stuff starts unfolding in the village, so does the village. Now, the girls also stumbled upon someone out in the forest, and Sarah also got to see a strange book with some, let's say witch type writing, demon writing, whatever, blah blah. So they obviously know that there's also this woman out here in the middle of the woods here that's doing some strange stuff. And so they're kind of dropping a little bit of hints of where this might be going. But there is a twist to the story. And you might catch that twist, you may not. It's not as obvious Um, there's something I want to say, but I think that was kind of lands in spoiler territory, so I'm not going to say it. Um, but again, there's some, as the village, bad things start happening to it, and it seems to be going backwards. And almost, if you want to think about it in the way of like this village is basically where Shadyside eventually ends up. And I guess this is why it's becoming Shadyside. The curse is starting, and obviously Sarah and Hannah are going to get blamed for it, and obviously we know what happens to witches. They get burned and hung and so forth. So basically, at the end of the days, through some chasing and back and forth and blah blah and a dramatic thing, and like I said, there's a twist to come. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'll leave it to you. You may have seen it coming, maybe not. But A, B, or C things happening, and obviously Sarah ends up taking one for the team. She's ends up being the one at fault for everything. Her fault or not, I'll leave that for you guys to watch and see. But obviously, as we know from the two other versions, 78 and 94, she's at the root of all the evil here and the cause of it. And you're going to see her ultimately take the blame here for everything and what eventually happens to her. And where she obviously ends up. And, it kind of paints the picture that there's, a connection with all three of the movies, obviously. And obviously all three of them are taking place in where Shadyside is, or what becomes Shadyside, obviously. And where certain things are marked, certain things kind of get repeated, and you kind of see that from the different time periods. Obviously, if you watch part 2, they end up in the caves, and you see kind of where that lands. You're going to see that kind of more of the cave and so forth in this one, and some similarities there. So you're going to see some location similarities. And obviously what happens at the end of part 2, where you find out one of the characters kind of plays a larger role in everything than maybe you thought, and plays a different role in it than maybe you thought. That kind of comes to life as this one kind of rolls on. So you're going to end up with, I would say, maybe half, maybe 2/3 in 1966, but then obviously this being a 3-part trilogy here, at least for now, obviously it's going to come back to the present, and where the group from part 1, or from, I should say, 1994 is, and where they are, and where they find themselves. And obviously now that, they've been taken through this adventure and knowledge and so forth, and now they know everything that happened, and the reason behind everything, and Sarah's place in it all. Now it is their turn to kind of stop it, and that's kind of how this one kind of ends. I don't think that's spoiling anything. I think that's basically real. Eventually, what's going to come back to them and how they're going to survive, because at the end, she's basically trying to save her ex-girlfriend or girlfriend, or wherever they fall. Think of their relationship now that one of them is a demon or so forth, or killer. But that's basically what she wants at the end of the day. And obviously, if she can save the town in the process of it, why not? But that is kind of where it's boiled down to. And again, what I think I said in the 78 review is that what I liked in the first one, jumping all around, it's crazy, is having all the different serial killers and seeing them. And I think towards the end of this one, you're going to get that again, where you're going to get to see all of the killers again, and what they do there is very interesting. I'm again going to be spoiler free here, but what they do and what the group decides to do in order to try to deal with them is pretty cool and very interesting, and kind of leads to some fun stuff there. Um, Wish they would have extended that a little bit longer, had a little bit more fun with it, but I guess you have to take what you can get there with what they did. Um, Obviously, you're going to be clued in on a few more things, and um, one or two people from maybe different. There's one character, I guess, kind of plays it helps out, plays an important role, which you only saw a glimpse of that person, and I believe it was the first one. Um, it's gonna be there to kind of help out. Obviously, if you've watched the second one, um, who the who plays the even bigger part in why all of this is happening, and obviously you're going to see that person play a big role towards the end of this one as well. So it leads to a very fun, dramatic conclusion, if you want to call it that. I think they obviously leave the door open still. Lots of talk about doing more. Obviously, there's more books. Again, you haven't guessed it by now. I haven't read any of the books, so I have no idea where this goes, what could happen, what could not happen. If they did more, is it going to be more of these characters? Are there other characters? I have absolutely no idea, and I've not Googled it either, so I have no clue. But obviously, by the end of this one, they leave it open for more fun to come. So I would welcome it. I don't know if that kind of gives you a clue on what I'm about to say about the entire series as a whole, but I would welcome more. I think, like I said, I think somebody said it well on Twitter. I think one of the reasons why you would like this, or you may like this, is the slasher element to it. Obviously, you get introduced to it in the first one. Obviously, the big opening scene in the first one is was a good slasher chase scene, and obviously then you're introduced to several different killers. All brutal, all want to kill. I think you see the two kills towards the end of the first one, brutal, and at least to my viewing was kind of unexpected. I think you get that continued in the second one, in this third one. It's not so much about the killer. I think it's more about the story and finding out really where everything is coming from. So you really have to wait to the end of the movie to kind of get to the slasher aspect, if that's what you're really waiting for. But I think they do a good job once you get there. And so yeah, they think that's one reason a lot of people can relate to it. So if they do more, I don't know if that's going to stick or hold, or this has other directions to go. As I mentioned in the previous reviews, obviously music is a big part of it. Obviously, being this 1666, again, like I said, I wasn't as familiar with or as tuned into what they did music-wise in the second one. Well, this one is even way further back in time. But obviously, they try to incorporate some music there. And obviously, once they bring it back to 1994. But obviously, that old-time music, or going way, way back, it's still incorporated. They still do their music thing there, but it's not the same effect as obviously the first 1994. Really enjoyed that. Let's see, what else is there to say about this one? So, yeah, in the second review, and I guess that kind of ruins the second review, I kind of complained about them doing a lot of setup before the killer. And, here there's not a lot of killing here, obviously, going on. There's things here or there, but there's not a lot of killing. It's more about finding out where this curse eventually comes from, and why, Sarah's at the root of it. While I complain in part two, I'm not going to complain that much here, because I think, they basically dropped the important knowledge here of what you needed to know. And I'm not going to say it was unique in style or anything like that, because, you go back to any kind of old witch style story, like I was saying at the beginning. It is that kind of typical thing. Things go wrong in the village in that kind of time period. there must be a witch at hand. If you think, even go back to thinking about The Witch, the movie, I think it was 2015 or so. Things are okay on the farm or in the village, where things go wrong. There must be a witch at hand. There's an evil out there. So I think that's, you get what you expect here. So with that, I think the ending of this one kind of picks it up, and like I said, kind of gives a satisfying wrap to where everybody ends up, and I liked, I guess at the end of part 2 is more of the twist than leading into this one. There wasn't, like I said, there is the one twist in this one, but I think overall I'm going to give this one, and that is part 3, 3 Pools of Blood. And I think, saying that is, and now, wrapping up the whole series where it's gone, I liked the way they did it. I liked the way, they went through the years and kind of presented, the same actors in different ways and different people who they were in different times. That's kind of interesting to do. I think they incorporated a lot of stuff that horror fans like. Obviously, like I just said, the slasher element is good stuff. Witch stuff is good stuff. And it wasn't necessarily the kind of witch stuff where we're seeing spells and stuff. Obviously, that's kind of the big curse part of it. But, it's not that kind of thing. I think part 2 takes us to a very familiar horror setting, campground. Part 3 kind of takes us to almost a familiar, not done as much, but there's some familiarity there as well. And then part 1 was kind of the high school thing, so all kinds of locations that are familiar. So striking chords with horror fans all along the way. Obviously, the blood and guts were good. Obviously, I don't know necessarily what my favorite kills are not. Obviously, like I said, the end of the first one, where person X and Y end up dying, was a little bit shocking, and then they died a little bit brutally. And even though one of them, like kind of said before, was a little bit debatable whether that could happen or not. Certainly a good death either way. I think there were brutal moments in part 2. One of the poor kids, you really wish it didn't happen to him, but it happened to him. And this one, you kind of have to wait to the final scene to get some action going. Maybe not as many deaths as per se, but not giving away what the killers end up doing. That's fun in itself. But yeah, I think overall, the series gives some good blood and guts. So I think, overall, I'm going to lean the series to be 3 to 3.5 pools of blood, and of course that's out of 5. You can go back and watch the other reviews to see what I gave the other two movies on their own. I think overall, I think I like the first one more. The best out of the 3. I'm looking here, IMDb here, and it looks like, according to their score, everybody liked the first one the most, and then the second and the third one is fairly close. I think if I had to rank them, I would say 1, 3, 2. And I kind of agree that the second and the third one are fairly close. And I guess it'd be interesting to know, watching it wise, did a lot of people just watch the first one and was like, okay, that was good enough for me? I can imagine them at least jumping into the second one, whether they watched all the way through. I know, obviously those of us who are reviewing this and want to talk about it and blah, 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 are going to watch all 3 for the sake of doing the reviews and so forth. But, as the casual horror fan watching all 3, or were they turned off at a certain point? It seems Twitter-wise that everybody kind of followed through and watched all 3. And I think if you weren't going to watch all three, I think you would have stopped after the first one. Because I think once you dive into the second one, it kind of leaves you there with enough information that you want to know how this concludes or where this goes, and how they're going to kind of get out of all of this. So I would think that would be a fair assumption, but we'll see. So again, if you want to see what I gave the other two, hopefully I will remember and put the links to the other two reviews in the section below with this one, and I'll try to make sure that each one of these videos gets links to the other ones, hopefully. But yeah, as far as this specific part 3, I'm going to give 3 pools of blood, I think. 2.5 to 3, and or did I say 3 to 5? I don't remember. But I think I don't know. I kind of go back and forth. I'm trying to be fair to what I just said about the second one, because they're very similar in ways. But I definitely like part 3 better than part 2, and a lot of that obviously had to do with the way this one ended, with bringing back the killers and so forth and having their involvement. Although again, let's be. I don't want to spoil anything. I'll shut up now. But I think overall, I'm going to give the series 3.5 pools of blood. And a lot of that is going to kind of boil down to being the good overall story, and obviously the killers and the blood and guts and stuff like that. Because I'm a sucker for all that. And obviously the music and element was great. I think I've said that 100 times now, and they're going to get bonus points for that, or bonus pools of blood for that. Anyway, enough rambling about Fear Street. Fear Street over. That's it. horrorsgorereviews.blogspot.com, where you can find more reviews, written reviews. Maybe not as confusing as this video. But if you want, and the video reviews are there as well, but if you want just the video reviews, subscribe to the channel. Come on this journey with me and get confused about pools of blood with different parts of this series. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. We can talk about this there. We can talk about other movies. I love talking about horror, as you guys know. We can talk about anything you want. If there's something you want me to review, you can hit me up there. Hopefully I can do it. I try to squeeze in as much as possible. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to pass. Comment section, if you want to comment on this review and my confusion and spoiling stuff and not spoiling stuff, you can do it there. You can comment on what you liked about the series as well. And yeah, with that, I guess that is Fear Street over for now, and we'll see if they have anything in store for us later. So I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans.